Hello everyone. Yesterday, that is on 6th February 2022, GATE examination happened in English for the second time, and here I am with whatever I remember from the examination and some inputs from my friends here and there. Um, I have, you know, uh, like jotted down some questions which came. I think I was able to jot down around 29 or no 31. So yeah, so it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Of course, this is a very commonly quoted sentence, quote, whatever, from a very famous work, A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. If you are a serious aspirant, you would know about it. Parapraxis is something I had never heard of, and the options were something like it's given by C.J. Jung. This was, of course, wrong. It was not by C.J. Jung. It was by some other person. I'm not sure if it was Freud, but I think it was. And then this is the fourth option seems to be correct. I don't remember what exactly it was, but it did have something to do with consciousness or something. Then phenomenology. If you had solved the previous questions from UGC NET, you would know about these two people and their connection with phenomenology. And I think three of the options were correct in this question. Toril Moyes, feminist, female, and feminine. This was not a difficult question, not because you had heard. I had just heard Toril Moyes' name. I had never known something of this sort existed. But because in the exam, the options were like that you could figure out the right option. I'm not sure if this is right or not, but I wrote feminist, something regarding political significance or something, and feminine related to some social or cultural construct. Oh, this was an easy question which had the answer Carnivalesque by Mikhail Bakhtin. And when the class difference is not there, when the rules are not the rules, but yeah, it's just like what happens in a carnival, right? That is what a carnivalesque, I think, is derived from. Gynocriticism, a very famous term, and of course, it is by, when women are focused on in a particular text, or it's a text that is read from a female perspective, something of that sort. So this was easy to derive the answer to this. This, of course, is one of my favorite quotes. This is from Thomas Hardy's The Mayor of Casterbridge. I would recommend you should read the work. That's really nice. Happiness was but the occasional episode in a general drama of pain. That's very nice. Booker Prize more than once. I did it wrong. These were the four options. I remember it. I knew that J.G. Farrell was there for sure. I knew Peter Carey was there for sure. Also knew that William Golding won Booker Prize only once. I was not sure about Nadine Gordimer. And the answer to this question is J.G. Farrell, Peter Carey. These two. Mistress of Spices. Again, if you've solved the previous questions of UGC NET, you would find this question there. Not only this, even these questions, gynocriticism, carnivalesque, I mean, these are some things that people read normally, but I think this is something which is not that common, which is not commonly read by people. So these were the three options. I don't remember the fourth one. Magic realism, of course, Mistress of Spices is regarding magic realism, because this person here, I think, has spices which have magical properties. So that is magic realism. Also, he's not in India. These spices are, of course, from India, but he is from, he goes and serves somewhere, I think, in the US. So there, he goes. So I just knew this much about this. But of course, if he went to US, he must have written something about immigrants. So I thought that this could be the answer, this and this, magic realism and immigrant problems. Then, there was this question on there was a passage of like 5 line, I think. So it had something like, I don't really remember, but I was confused between Edward Said's Orientalism and Homi K. Bhabha's The Location of Culture. So I did not really mark it because I wasn't sure. So I am not sure about the answer. It's either Orientalism or The Location of Culture. And of course, the existential question was there. Roland Barthes, Jean-Paul Sartre, Soren Kierkegaard. So I knew that Roland Barthes was not the answer. Oh, oh. And Jean-Paul Sartre, of course, he wrote many existential works. You can, with what all, like No Exit, or maybe what else, I forgot the name of, I think, Being and Nothingness also, I think he has only written. So that kind of works he wrote, Jean Paul Sartre. So Of course, he writes about existentialism. This I was not sure about, but this is existential writer. He's also an existential writer. There was one more. He was also an existential writer. I don't remember who it was, but that person was also, of course, objective correlative. T.S. Eliot. That's perhaps an easy question. Publication of lyrical ballads for the first time. What's that? For the first time. Of course, 1798, and I honestly I got confused in the exam if it was nine because the options were like 1798, 1789, like that. But then, of course, I remembered that the second edition was in 1800, so 1798 was the first. Also, if you did not know that, you could have thought that 1789 the French Revolution began. So obviously, lyrical ballads would come after that. So, of course, this one, he who is unable to live in society or who has no need because. Um, Okay, this was regarding something like friends, na? Uh, uh, Not friend, but somebody who can't live in the society is not something. Uh, I'm sorry, I can't really think of the exact thing right now. But this is from Francis Bacon's work. But Francis Bacon has indeed taken it from Aristotle. So Aristotle, there would be the answer because Francis Bacon was not in options. Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, these were the options. Let me write them. This is the answer. Coming to the next question, number 15 now. In a universe that is suddenly deprived of illusions, dash, 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 I don't remember. In fact, then this is feeling of absurdity. This is, this is something. Now, how I attempted it, I did not know. I did not know the answer. But see, I had read Waiting for Godot in graduation, and I knew that had it been from Waiting for Godot, I would have definitely heard it. But because it was not from Waiting for Godot, I eliminated this option. Then came Birthday Party. I had also read Birthday Party, so I knew that it's not even Birthday Party. These two I hadn't read, but I did have an idea because when you start doing, absurd drama, this is the first text that you learn about Albert Camus, The Myth of Sisyphus, and this is not a play. I mean, it's more of I'll come to that later. The Trial by Franz Kafka again. This kind of I knew about this a little bit, and I knew that this kind of line could not be in the Trial by Franz Kafka. So this was the only option left, and because I knew that Myth of the Sisyphus was the first work that kind of told you about absurdity and everything. So perhaps this is why he would explain absurdity. So perhaps Myth of Sisyphus was the answer, which was right. Let me just take it. Pseudonyms. This was very easy question. George Eliot, Mary Ann Evans, Sylvia Plath, Victoria Lucas, Currer Bell, Charlotte Bronte, Saki, Hector Hugo Munro. And of course, this I don't know why, but even UGC at this time in the second shift of English had asked ecofeminism, and they asked who coined the term ecofeminism, and the answer was this Francoise de Eobon. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but she says that there is something called toxic masculinity. That is what she says in her work. So there was an option where you said that something like exploitation of nature and something like exploitation of women, both were kind of equated together, and that there was an option like that, and that was the right option. This was perhaps a very low hanging fruit, an easy question. Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, 1984. George Orwell. There was one more option. I don't really remember which one here. And the answer was dystopian. And even if you did not know the answer, dystopian, or you may have gotten confused between dystopian or utopian, you could always have thought, because the other options were like, the third option was something like, related to ideals or something, ideals or something like that. Means that the second, third, and fourth option were almost the same, so the only different option was dystopian, so you could have easily come to the answer. Of course, this was the question that I left in the exam because I was so confused between Tughlaq and one more option. History is not made only in statecraft, its lasting results are produced in the ranks of learned men. This is a quote from Tughlaq. Of course, Shakespeare's comedies over his tragedies were preferred by Samuel Johnson. Of course, that's a very easy question. Wasteland by T.S. Eliot. I won't call this easy, but I happened to have read it somewhere. The answer is this one, Ritual to Romance. This is another one. I'm not sure about this option. A friend told me that this was also there, and these two were there, of course. Principles of Psychology. If you remember, William James is the brother of the very famous Oh God, I forgot his name. What was his name? Henry James. Henry James. I think Henry James. I don't remember the writer of Daisy Miller and the writer of uh, uh, Ambassadors. I think it was Henry James. I don't really remember. Mm, okay. Which of the following is true for postmodern criticism? Okay, so this was a question. Something like critics are reflective or reflexivity is there. There was something like they don't differentiate between the classes or with the culture, something like that. I don't really know the answer to this. Then there was a question on anagnorisis. I did the recognition of the tragic flaw, but I'm not sure what the answer is because the options are quite confusing. Antithesis, personification, irony, paradox. I don't remember the question, but I remember that I did antithesis. And what did I do? Um, I did one more, but I can't think of what I did. Hmm, I did not do this for sure. Personification was not there. Yes, I did irony. I did irony. I'm not sure. I really don't know the answer to this question. I just did it like this. Okay, something like who started comparative literature in Russian formalism. Um, to be honest, I knew that these three people were associated with Russian formalism. Vladimir Prop was related to structuralism, so I eliminated this one. Now, what I don't know is because Victor Shklovsky was born first. That is what I knew, and I don't know if this was the no, this was not an option. I think no, this wasn't the option. I think no. There was some other option. I think I forgot. I'm really not about. I'm not really not able to think of the name. But this was not an option, and I did. And the answer to which I did was Victor Shklovsky. Roman Jakobson is, of course, a very famous name in Russian formalism, but I really felt that maybe because it was about propounded or maybe laid the foundation, something of the sort that this person was the first one to do such a thing. And because Shklovsky was born first, I thought Shklovsky is the answer, even though I do not know the answer to this question because I can't find it on the internet. I'm trying to, but I can't. Something regarding which of the following things in Hamlet can relate to psychoanalytical criticism or maybe understanding, something like that. I did change of emotions and neuroticism, these two. I think these should be right. Then there was this poem Go for Puja and something like Cigar. But what the answer to this question I did was when I did surreal and astonishing images, and second of a rebellious nature. Yeah. Even though I am not so sure if it should be surreal, but I did surreal. And the second was what? Rebellious nature of the writer. Then there was another poem, an excerpt from a poem which was like, that the person can see white hair rising from the cigarette or something. It just gave an idea of old age. So I think I did one option I did was symbolic because I felt even cigarette because he was but the cigarette was burning, so of course it was half new and half dead, so perhaps he was seeing the contrast between himself and the old mother. And one I did symbols and the other one also I did, I don't remember what it was. Then there was a passage from Namesake when her child, Ashima's child, I think Ashima name was mentioned there. Ashima, we have done this in graduation, so I knew about it. So, it was about how she missed her people because this novel is about an Indian couple who settles in US, but and what problems they face as a diasporic community of India in foreign. So, this one. The answer to this, according to me, was she felt lonely, and another one what I think there is no cultural shock because nothing of that sort is mentioned in the passage as per what I can remember. Of course, the novel is about that, the cultural shock and everything, but it's not there in the passage. I think the last two options were there. Now, like that she feels lonely and she feels that she won't be able to raise her child herself, something of that sort. I don't remember the exact thing. Roland Barthes, Death of the Author. There was a question. three options were clearly incorrect. There was just one option, something like he challenges, um, perhaps he challenges the fact that the author, something that author has. It was easy, but the answer started from challenges the option. Then there was this thing I had never heard this about this. L.M. Rosenblatt's poetry as event. It asked about what she says or he says in reader response theory. This perhaps, this work is perhaps in the support of reader response theory. These were the 31 questions according to me. I don't really remember the rest of them, but if I do, I might write it in the description, or maybe in the comment section I'll pin it, if at all.